In Jeremiah 29, verse 13, the Bible says, "And ye shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search for me with all your heart." God will never force anyone to believe that he exists or to let them think that he's real, but those who search for him will find him if they search for him with their whole heart. Although I was raised in an Adventist Christian home, my personal relationship with Christ didn't happen until I was around 12 years old when I went off to a summer camp called Young Disciple Youth Bible Camp. And I learned a lot of good principles on health, on dress, different things like that, but I think the most important thing I learned from there was that I needed to spend time with God every day so we could grow in a relationship, so I could get to know him better. And as I started to pray and read the Bible and read Ellen White's writings, I started to find a personal savior, someone who really cared about me, even the little details in my life. I read, and just reading and learning all these different exciting things made me want to share with others what I learned. And for high school, I went off to a little boarding school called Washita Hills Academy in Arkansas, and this provided me with an excellent atmosphere that encouraged my spiritual life, that helped me get to know Christ better. And while there, I had the opportunity to learn how to canvass. And what canvassing is basically going door to door selling religious books and health books. And when you're out there by yourself, and you don't know who you're going to meet, what kind of people you're going to meet, or what kind of books they'll need. So you really have to pray and rely on God that he'll give you wisdom, that he'll give you discernment to know which books to show these people. And just through that experience, I had so many divine appointments where I knew that God set up everything right, so I was knocking at the right door at the right time, and the right person answered the door. One specific instance, while I was in academy, I knocked at this door, and this lady opened the door. She was an Adventist, and I started showing her different books, and we were talking for a little bit, and she was like, I'm right now in my personal studies, I've been studying the Beatitudes, and I really want to learn more about it. Do you have any kind of books that talk about the Beatitudes? And that year was my very first year, and because it was my first year, I was taking a Bible class called Life and Teachings of Jesus, and we read through the Desire of Ages. Well, I knew by looking through the index that one of the chapters was on the Sermon on the Mount, which is the Beatitudes. So I quickly was able to take that out, and I showed it to her, and she was just so thrilled. She was so amazed and so thankful. She just knew that God had sent me there at the right time. She was just so happy. We prayed together, and it was a great experience. And a lot of times maybe a lot of people think that they can't canvass, they can't do things for God because they don't know enough. And I know I'm not at a place where I know everything in the Bible. And so sometimes it can be a little discouraging, you think, how can I work for God when I don't even know everything? Well, one more recent canvassing experience helped change my mind about that and helps me realize that God can work through anybody. I knocked at a door, and this teenage boy answered. And usually when there's kids or teenagers that answer the door, I ask if their parents are there, because their parents are usually the ones that are more serious about, buying books, they have a job, they can pay for it. But this boy was home alone. And so I decided to just canvass him anyway. I showed him my books, and this just suddenly opened this door so that he was asking me all these questions about God. He told me about this book he was reading and wondered if what they were teaching were really biblical, if this was right. And I know I don't know everything, but God worked through me, and actually the questions that he asked, I knew the answers to. And it was just amazing being able to share what I knew with someone who didn't know and wanted to know. And so I was able to show him books, help him get books that he could afford, and he was just really happy. We prayed together, and it just reminded me that when we're working for the salvation of others, God is willing to work through anyone who's willing. And another great opportunity I had to share Christ with others while in academy was going on a mission trip to the Philippines. And while in the Philippines, we had evangelistic series over there along with children's meetings. And we had several different sites, but the site I was at, it was a little bit far away, but we'd always go there half an hour early so that we could go on visitations, which we'd go with a Bible worker around in the community and talk to the people and invite them to the meetings that night, but also give them Bible studies. And one specific night, we arrived there, and our Bible worker wasn't there waiting for us, and he usually was always there. So we were wondering what was going on, and we couldn't find him anywhere, and we couldn't go out talk to the people because we didn't know the local dialect. It was Ilongo, that's what it's called, and we couldn't speak it, so we're just there at our site waiting for the meetings to start, mingling with the people, and that's when we realized that we had left the speakers to the sound system back at the house, which was a long ways away, but because we were half an hour early and we didn't go on visitations, we had enough time to go back and get the speakers. And that was just like one tiny miracle that just made us amazed that, you know, God would help things happen to make things work out. But one miracle that was more real to me was what happened in the children's meetings, because that's the area where I worked. And basically, the children's meetings is composed of PowerPoints that were going with a Bible story, and then we sang, and we also had a craft. But I didn't speak the local dialect there, so I had a translator, and she was around my age. And usually, if she would need a ride, the Bible worker would call us ahead of time and say, you know, she needs a ride so we can pick her up on our way there. Sometimes she didn't need a ride, so he wouldn't call us, and we'd just go there anyway. So this specific night, we didn't get a call, so we're like, oh, okay, well, she's coming, she's on her way, so we just went over there. But we would always play a nature video for the kids while waiting for the meetings to start, because they like to come early and stuff. But as the clock kept ticking, it was getting really close to the meeting time to start, and I wasn't stressed, but I knew, you know, I couldn't tell the story in English because only a few kids would understand, and all the rest, you know, they wouldn't get anything out of it. So I just really started praying. I was like, God, you gotta help her come, because I knew that if they watched the video of the birds flying around too long, you know, they just get bored, and I was like, God, you gotta help her come at least 10 minutes. If it's more than that, they're just gonna go crazy. And so I was praying and praying, and exactly 10 minutes after the meeting started, she came. Like, that was a direct answer to prayer and a huge relief to me, because there's like 200 to 400 kids waiting for something to happen, and nothing happens. It was just amazing to see God work. And it never ceases to amaze me how much more powerful God is than Satan. You know, during this mission trip, Satan would work so hard to make things not work out, and it seemed like, you know, things weren't going to happen the way they should, but God would always pull through, and he was always faithful and work things out for our good. And through all these experiences, I could really see God working in mighty ways, and he proved himself real to me as I worked for him. So just think, like, all these experiences that I've had with God, it started when I was 12 years old, when a seed was planted in my heart. When I started reading the Bible for myself, and just having Christ as a personal teacher, teaching me throughout the years, it's just brought so much true happiness to my life. And the great thing is that once you take a hold of God's hand, he won't let you go unless you let go first. So are you tired of having a life that is full of short-term happiness? You know, if you start reading the Bible, read more about Jesus and learn more about him in reading the Bible, and read for yourself. Christ will be there for you even in the tough times, and he will never let you down.
Amen.